Hi and welcome. This is Chris Ann. I'm coming at you from Elemental Energies with Chris Ann. So, we are going to be doing a little bit of a different video today. Today's video is all about what are my two top favorite decks when it comes to Oracle and Tarot. And I have very strong views on these. These are my absolute favorite decks. Both of these are really hard to come by. This one, my favorite tarot deck, is completely out of print now. And this one is super, super hard to come by. Both of these I've had multiple copies of. So the Mystic Art Medicine cards are an oracle deck that I have had for, oh gosh, many, many years. This is my second incarnation of this one. And actually, this is my second incarnation of this one. And well, the one I'm going to be showing you is my second incarnation. This particular one is my third, only because this is no longer available. So this is my backup. So the Art Nouveau Tarot by Meyers is my favorite tarot deck of all the traditional tarots that are out there. This is my favorite tarot deck, and we're going to be talking about it. I'm going to be showing it to you. And the Mystic Art Medicine cards that are by, oh gosh, I'm forgetting her name right now. There she is, Cheryl Lynn. Fantastic. Love this deck too. So if you have an opportunity to lay your hands on either one, these are my suggestions. Let's get started with the tarot and let's talk about tarot. So this is the back of all the cards, and I'm going to continue talking while I go through and I show you each and every card. So tarot has the major arcana and the minor arcana. And then it's broken up, the minor arcana is broken up into 4 suits, as opposed to an oracle deck, which just has that specific set number of cards and it's not within suits or any of that type of stuff. You can see this deck is well loved. I've been using this tarot deck. I was thinking about this earlier. I've been using this tarot deck since the mid 90s. So that's how long I've been reading with this, and that's why this is my second incarnation of this particular deck. I wore the other one right to right down to the paper. I used to read only with tarot, and I would chuck in some runes as well. And this was the primary tarot deck that I read with. And I want to show you why this was the primary deck that I read with. So when we get to that, I will talk about that. So this, you can see, this is the size. I'm trying to get the glare off the card, so I apologize for the glare. But it's a fantastic deck. It's an easy to use deck. It's an easy to shuffle deck. It's a great size. It's a great paper weight to the paper. It's a really easy deck for me to be able to read with. I mean, this deck, you know when you find your deck because it speaks to you, and this deck definitely speaks to me. And I'm always telling people, look for the deck that speaks to you. There are so many tarot decks out there now. There's so many oracle decks as well. But tarot is a very personal thing. If you are going to be doing readings with tarot, you want to make sure you have a deck that speaks to you, and it has to really connect with you. And for me, that's this deck. This deck really connects with me. It really speaks to me. And I was just telling a friend not too long ago that when I saw this deck, a dear friend of mine from many moons ago, Jan Moody, was a wonderful astrologer who I studied with in the 90s. And we were friends, and I'm very happy to say that we were friends. And she would take me to the Llewellyn warehouse. There used to be, this is how old I am, there used to be a Llewellyn warehouse. Llewellyn is a publishing company, and they used to have a warehouse in York, Maine. So she would take me to this warehouse. And that's where I saw this deck, this massive, gigantic wall of nothing but tarot cards. And it was just, oh, it was a sight to behold. I was just enamored. And, there were just shelves and shelves and shelves of books at this place. But for me, it was this tarot wall. And out of all of the hundreds of decks they had on this tarot wall, it was this deck that I saw. And I said, that's the deck I want, that one. And I've used it ever since. It has been my primary tarot deck. And this deck has worked so well as it has worked for the people that I have done readings for and with. And that's what it is you need a deck that's not only going to speak to you, but be able to speak to your people that you are working with. I love the colors. These are bold, bright colors. It is not a wishy-washy deck. I'm not a pastel person, first and foremost. I love the artwork. And for its time, and still, I still think this holds true. For its time, this artwork was so different than anything else that was on the market at the time. And it still is. This deck still holds true definitely for what it is. So we are nearing the end. I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker because there's some other things I wanted to show you about this deck. But you can see when you're using a tarot deck, there are reversals. So you either read the card upright or you read the card reversed. And typically the reversal is the opposite of what the opposite way it is. So it means one thing this way and it means the opposite thing this way. Typically that's how it is. And this is why it's good. Here's an example. So this is loss of money if it's read upright, but if it's reversed, it's actually positive. A lot of people think the reversal is a negative. In this case, it's actually a positive. So I am a big fan of using reversals in tarot, in my traditional tarot. And that's why. Because a lot of times the reversed is actually better. And in this case, that's another example of that. Here's why I like this deck so much. Let's move this out of the way. Let me put some of these together so we can talk about what it is that I want to talk about. Let's see. No, we don't need her. So, if you look, there are characteristics that go with each suit in the minor arcana of tarot. This deck has them spelled out. So if you are talking about somebody in swords, this is what somebody would look like. If you're talking about somebody in coins, this is what somebody would look like. If you're talking about somebody in staves, this is what somebody would look like. If you're talking about somebody in cups, this is what somebody would look like. I, at that point, had never seen a deck that had a visual representation. And for years, what I would say is, does that look like your mother-in-law? And they'd say, yes, that's her. Does this look like the guy you're thinking of marrying? Yes, that's him. Does that look like the guy? It's reversed. Don't go for that one. But this is a visual representation, and I've always loved this about this deck because I always thought that was so cool. So the Art Nouveau Tarot really pegged it, and that's one of my favorite things about the Art Nouveau Tarot is the physical characteristics are a visual, and you are able to see that. And that was just so unusual at the time. So that's one of the reasons. And the artwork, the energy, the feel, the size of the cards. It's the perfect size for my hand. I have short fingers, obviously. It's the perfect size for my hand. This is a deck that I used to just take and chuck in my pocketbook. And that's why this is my second incarnation of the deck, because I used to carry it with me everywhere, obviously. So if you're ever able to get your hands on it, it is no longer in print, unfortunately. I wish it was, because I would use this in a heartbeat to teach tarot. When I teach tarot, I use different decks, actually. There's a couple other decks that I utilize. But I would gladly use this if it was still available, but unfortunately, it's not. So if you're able to get your hands on it, that's it. So let's talk about my favorite oracle deck. So my favorite oracle deck, like I said before, is the Mystic Art Medicine Oracle Cards Tools for Transformation. And these also are very well loved and used. These are used on every single card reading that I do. I read with 20 plus cards for one reading when I am doing oracle cards. And this is the first deck I pull always. All the other decks are chosen by my person's guides, my guides, their loved ones, their angels, their animal spirit guides, my animal spirit guides, whomever. Except the first and the last deck are always the same. And this is my first deck that I use. I love the artwork, and Cheryl is just so gifted with her art, and she sells her art as well. So you can buy this as an art piece to hang on your wall. Stunning, absolutely stunning, gorgeous artwork. I am a huge fan. And if you can see, look at all the detail that's within these. It's layers upon layers of different things within the cards. Just it's very, very cool. And like I love that one. I love them all. That may be my problem. And there's a lovely extensive book that comes with this deck. But yet again, I'm always telling people you don't necessarily need the book. Make the cards your own. And if you're looking in and amongst all of the imagery within this, it just speaks volumes. There is so much to be read within these cards. The colors are fantastic. If I had a complaint, it would be that I wish they were a little bit thicker. Like I said, this is my second incarnation of this particular deck. So I wish they were a little thicker. But I have done thousands of readings with this particular one that's here right in front of me. So you can see, I mean, they've held up pretty good. And this is the other thing I like about it. There are positives as well as negatives within this deck. That is something that I'm always looking for within my decks. I like there to be positives as well as negatives. I know I'm kind of zipping through them kind of quickly, but I want to make sure that I get to show all the cards. There are 64 cards in this deck. And I think this deck was a little ahead of its time as well. I've been utilizing this deck, oh my gosh, I don't know, 6, 8, something years, at least, if not more. So lots of information within this. You need to make this deck your own. This deck is not for the faint of heart, I have to say. When you utilize this deck, there is a lot that speaks to you, and you have to be able to recognize it, and you have to be able to facilitate it. Now, if you're reading for yourself and you want to pull the book and see what Cheryl has meant with that card, please, by all means, do that. When I'm doing professional readings, I never once pick up the book, ever, unless my person's like, let me see what the book says, which is very rare. But I have made this deck my own. It speaks to me in a very, very strong and powerful way. I love the colors. I love the artistry. Love, love, love the artistry. I love the meaning within the cards. I love everything about this deck. And like I said, if I had one criticism, it would be just to have the cardstock be a little bit thicker. But that being said, that's only because I'm finding something to be a negative about. But look at, I mean, just all the downloads of all of this information. I mean, you could just feel it. You can feel, love this one as well. You can feel the energy, the fantastic energy that is within these cards. Very, very, very powerful. within this deck. It is very thought-provoking. It is super easy to do a reading, at least it is for me, because this deck absolutely speaks to me. So these are my two recommendations. People are always saying to me, what are your favorite decks? So this is my favorite Oracle deck. This is my favorite Tarot deck. What are your favorites? Leave me a comment below. Maybe I have the deck. Maybe I don't have the deck. I'm always looking for new decks as well. I have well over 400 decks right here at my desk in front of me. I love my decks. I've been reading for well over 40 years with decks. So I love my decks. I love to play with my decks, and I love to share that information for other people as well. So this is just two recommendations. I have a lot of loves, but my top Oracle and my top Tarot are these two, out of print, super hard to find. So you can find anything on Amazon nowadays, but if there's something you're looking for and you need some help finding it, people contact me all the time, and I love to track things down for people. Here's all the ways you can get in touch with me. And my website is elementalenergieswithchrisanne.com. And I'm going to be having some fantastic classes coming up that are going to be a monthly series of classes. So get on my Facebook page, which is where I post all my information. It's Elemental Energies with Chrysanne on Facebook. And I do a lot of contests and a lot of fun things there. So get on my Facebook page. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope this gives you a little bit of insight of what I look for when I'm choosing a deck. And maybe you found your new loves within some decks as well. Let's hope, because these are great things to share, especially if you're going to be doing professional tarot readings or professional oracle readings or some professional teaching like I do as well. So I hope this inspires you to go forward and play and get your inspiration and share and facilitate that for others as well. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Be free.